Do you wonder if you're the best version of yourself? This is the question we seek to answer in this podcast. We reveal information that helps you recover your health and become resilient. Modern life makes us fragile. Our diet, lifestyle, and environment set us up for failure. We do not accept this. We seek optimization. We strive to become dynamic. Hey, what's going on? Dr. Chris here, and today I'm going to talk about arthritis and what drives it and what causes it in the first place. For so long we've been told, and this is definitely what I learned in school, it's wear and tear. And I think this is false logic, right? There's this great quote, and I got this from Mike Nelson, and he got it from somewhere else, I can't remember where, but it goes, just because it's logical doesn't mean it's physiological. The human body is under no obligation to follow any logic. It's got its own rules, and there's a lot of different nuance, and the way things work to, say, a vehicle is not the same way it works on a human. This is one of the problems. We make analogies a lot, and they can be helpful to break things down, help people understand stuff, to explain things in more layman's terms. But when we make these analogies of like the human being is like a car, that can work for things like your metabolism, aka our bodies are like an electric or a hybrid vehicle. We can burn two different fuels. We can burn fats or we can burn carbs. So that analogy works, but the idea that our joints are like brake pads and they just wear down over time, it doesn't make sense from a physiological perspective. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about something called Wolff's Law. So you can Google this, Wolff with two F's. Wolff's Law is a physiologic principle, and it goes something like this. Tissues respond to the pressures applied to them or not applied to them, meaning when you stimulate or stress a tissue, the response is it to grow. So the opposite for brake pad, right? That's how you build muscle. You stimulate it, you stress a muscle, it builds back bigger and stronger. You're giving the DNA the instructions, hey, I'm going to need this muscle. He likes to lift things, so it grows. But that's true of all tissues, cartilage, bone, right? We know, just going back to Wolff's Law, the pressure you don't put into something, it responds negatively. Right? We know when astronauts go off to space, they come back with low bone density. They get osteopenia or osteoporosis. That's because they're not in gravity. There's no pressure through their bones. So for starters, just based off this law, this physiologic law, it just doesn't make sense that wear and tear is the main cause. You might be able to make an argument that, if you stand really knock-kneed with a lot of weight and load it or run it like that, maybe at that point you're causing so much compression the tissue can't handle it. But I'm still not convinced of that. In fact, when you look into a lot of the research, people think that running breaks down your knees, breaks down the cartilage. Turns out runners have more cartilage on average than people that are sedentary. All right. You look at studies on powerlifters; they have thicker intervertebral discs from powerlifting, not thinner. That's Wolff's Law at play. So, what are some of the drivers? I mean, it seems like there's a lot of them, and I think we're going to find out more and more. It's diet related, gut related. We definitely know that sugar can be damaging at excess levels to cartilage. We know that chronic NSAID use, like over-the-counter anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen and stuff, that reduces blood flow to the joints and can cause damage. We know that too many steroid shots or corticosteroids break down cartilage. That's why, break down a lot of tissues, by the way. That's why pain management will only give to them quarterly, generally, is because they know this. And then there's been some new research with gut pathology that's really interesting. We're finding that the pathogenic bacteria, when people have like a gut dysbiosis, they're finding the same pathogenic bacteria in the arthritic joint. And what's happening, it appears to be happening, is we have these progenitor cells, and they're meant to turn over new cartilage. And this pathogenic bacteria we're finding is inhibiting the action of these progenitor cells. There's definitely a large association or a correlation between obesity and arthritis, and so that led many to think, okay, it's this wear and tear, just putting too much pressure on the joints. Again, maybe it's possible, but I just don't think that's the real driver, because if you're obese, you tend to have a gut pathology, you tend to have too much sugar in your life, and then the next thing that I'm about to talk about is something called leptin. But before I go there, just to belabor the point, they find that those that are obese have more arthritis in the hands as well. Right? And those are not load-bearing joints, so that doesn't really line up with the thinking that it's just too much load on the joints. Okay, so leptin. Leptin is a hormone that tells the brain when we have enough energy stored. So in theory, with higher levels of leptin, that should make you feel fuller and encourage you to use energy. But in practice, many people develop what's called leptin resistance, where the brain no longer responds accordingly. This is one reason why obesity is often difficult to overcome. And what's interesting about this is that the cartilage can contain leptin, or it does contain leptin. And when you become leptin resistant, that can be a pro-inflammatory state, and that can break down the cartilage. And this, in turn, will influence the bone, which can encourage osteophytes, which are or bone spurs, which go hand in hand with arthritis. And higher levels of leptin act like a chemical messenger that speeds up the joint damage, even in non-load-bearing joints like the hands. So, I mean, if I'm right about this, I think this is a good thing, right? Because this gives you some agency. So, if you've been obese for a long time, you've developed arthritis, and you're having difficulty losing weight, it's a bit of a paradigm shift to think, okay, well, maybe it's not about being overweight. It's about the diet. So that gives you some sense of control, and there's things you can do to reduce the development of further arthritis. And I personally think that going on a low-carb diet, at least temporarily, is a good place to start. A lot of my patients do that, that have arthritis, and very quickly they feel a lot better. They're going to lose a little bit of weight, all right, and then you're going to start to burn fat because now you're not feeding the body carbs, just like going back to the hybrid car analogy. It's a fuel selector, so now you're changing over to burning fats instead of carbs. And on top of that, the reduction of sugar is going to help the joints. Now, with the gut, there's still a lot for us to learn, but we do know that a lot of the pathogenic bacteria feed off of high glucose levels. So to go on a low-carb diet is to starve the pathogenic bacteria. But disclaimer, of course, do this with the guidance of a medical or a healthcare professional. So that's it for this one. It's a bit of a short one, but when I came across this research, I found it fascinating, and I had to talk about it. A ship in harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are meant to do. What does this mean? It means exposing yourself to difficult situations so you become resilient. If you need help building resilience, check out our flagship program called Physiologic Flexibility. This is a 3-month do-it-yourself program that teaches you how to maximize your homeostatic regulators, such as your pH, blood glucose, O2 and CO2 tolerance, and temperature. We give you specific action items through the program with the goal of becoming anti-fragile. If you want to become the inspiration for your friends and family, this is the program for you.